and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
Hi, this is Jeff Joyner. You might know me as Coaster Dad or Logan's dad from Coaster Kids. You're listening to the Coaster Challenge podcast.
Hey, this is Jeff Tucker from Knott's Berry Farm, and you're listening to the Coaster Challenge podcast.
Hi, I'm Arthur Levine from About Theme Parks, and you're listening to Coaster Challenge Podcast.
Hi, this is Adam Sandy with Gemperla, and you're listening to the Coaster Challenge Podcast.
Hi, this is Jake Tokup with Rocky Mountain Construction, and you're listening to the Coaster Challenge Podcast.
Do you accept the Coaster Challenge? Yes, I accept the Coaster Challenge. Do you accept the Coaster Challenge? Coaster Challenge Podcast is here. It's time to face your fears. Get that theme park therapy and lend us both your Coaster ears. Challenge Podcast is here. Your fear can disappear. We know that theme park therapy can dry up all your tears. Do you accept the Coaster Challenge? Yes, I accept the Coaster Challenge. Do you accept the Coaster Challenge? We accept because you know we're not average.
You're listening to the Coaster Challenge Podcast. A journey where people become fearful to fearless, all from riding roller coasters. So please, secure your hats and glasses and keep your hands and arms inside the podcast. It's time to accept the Coaster Challenge with your hosts, Kim Dykes.
Hi, this is Kim, one of the producers of the Coaster Challenge podcast, and I'm happy to talk with an exciting new guest today. I'm thrilled to welcome Sean O Leary, an enthusiast and founder of the YouTube channel Officer O Leary. Thank you for joining me and welcome to the podcast, Sean.
Thanks, Kim. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Well, I'm very excited to get to talk more with you. We first became associated when we ran into each other and started talking at Six Flags Great Adventure last July. I later found you on social media and realized that the world was a lot smaller than I thought because we had a number of mutual friends. While I know a few things about you, would you please share some more things about yourself relating to parks, coasters, and life in general?
Oh, yeah, of course. I'm around 325 coaster credits altogether, so I'm pretty well traveled. I've been going on vacations pretty much every summer now for the last few years, going around country. Furthest I've made it out was California. I made it out to Magic Mountain and Six Flags. And Knott's Berry Farm and Disneyland. It was so much fun. But yeah, I travel around lots of different parks. I have season passes down in Florida to major chains down there. I go to Busch Gardens, Tampa fairly often. My number one coaster is, I'm pretty sure you could guess it, Iron Gwazi.
Mine too. It's a go.
Oh man, it's absolutely incredible. That ride blows me away. Every time I go down, I forget how good it is, and then I ride it, I'm like, oh my god. But yeah, so I really enjoy just going around and riding coasters a lot, and traveling to different parks.
I actually had the day off work today, and that was one of the things I've been doing is trying to get 2 of my summer trips planned, and I'm low-key jealous that you've already been out to California. That's one I've got on my radar. I haven't made it yet, and that one's probably, honestly, looking at what I'm thinking about doing next year, hopefully going to be the year after next, looking at 2025. And that's going to be such a big trip. It may wind up being my only trip of the year. We'll see. But it's going to be awesome when we finally get to go.
Yeah, if you drive out there, it might be your only trip.
Yeah, for real. It's just going to
really
be expensive.
Yeah, just buy all your stuff in advance. That's what I always tell people. And
yeah, always.
When you got a really big road trip coming up, just try and buy as much as you can before you hit the road or you get on that plane, because then you end up saving a lot of money that way.
Oh, yes. That's the way to do it. So the first part of our interview is going to be what we refer to on the podcast here as the fear journey. I call it the roller coaster and amusement park time traveler. We kind of go back in time through your history as it relates to riding coasters and amusement parks. And then the second half of the interview, we kind of exit the time capsule, and we're going to talk more about you now and, you know, just things that you're looking forward to in the future as well. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and enter the time capsule and get started.
I love Time Traveler, so let's go.
Me too. It's one of my favorite movies. It's awesome. And I'm actually going back to Silver Dollar City this year so I can finally get some night rides.
Night rides are fun. Outlaw Run. That's the better of the two for night rides, to be honest with you. Like Time Traveler, it has a couple lights around it, but Outlaw Run is just out there.
Oh, awesome. That gets me even more excited for that. Okay, so thinking all the way back to when you started riding coasters, what's the very, very first coaster you remember riding?
Okay, I think I remember the first coaster riding was a small powered Zamperla coaster called the Tornado. It was at this small boardwalk park called Jenkinson's down here in New Jersey, about 15 miles or so from where I live. And my dad used to take me down there, you know, and when we would check out the amusement rides and the pier and the park and all that. And then I would ride the Tornado coaster there. It's just a small little figure 8 layout power coaster. It didn't really do much, but that was my first ever credit.
Those boardwalk parks, that's another part of the East Coast I've not gotten to tap into yet. I'm hitting the Northeast part of it this year. And when I return to the area I was in before, near Six Flags, Great Adventure, Hershey Park, and all that, I'm hoping to get to some of those boardwalk parks next time. So looking back on all the coasters you've ridden, I'm sure you've heard people plenty of times, and you yourself may have said, you know, how scary is it? All coasters used to scare me to death for a long time, so much so that I would keep my eyes shut the whole ride. Took me a long time to figure out that that's really not the way to roll. But
you can. I mean, nobody's going to judge you if you have your eyes closed, I guess.
No,
you're not paying attention.
I just found it much more enjoyable once I finally started opening my eyes. But, you know, and I still have these conversations and lines about how scary is it. Looking back on all the coasters you've ridden, what would you say was the scariest one ever?
Scariest one ever?
Yep.
Let's see. I guess I just had to say King Ka. As a young kid growing up at Great Adventure, I would look up at that coaster and just feel like, no, you know, I'm never going to go on that. It's just too much. It's like all these other people are, you know, getting in line and stuff around me, but I was just a little kid, so I couldn't handle it. It was before I started riding bigger rides like that. I think I was even scared of like Nitro, which is the second tallest coaster at Great Adventure.
Mm-hmm.
And even stuff like Bizarro was scary to me because, you know, all those rides, they're big for a little kid like that.
Yes. Heck, King Ka, I just saw that for the first time last summer. And that's big to me as an adult. I mean, you know, even looking at it as a child, it's ginormous. How old were you when you first rode it?
King Ka, yeah, it was probably about 12 or 13.
Okay. So did you ride it the first time you saw it, or did it take you some time to build up your nerve to ride it?
I don't remember it being there the first couple or 3 times I went to Great Adventure when I was a young kid, because I started going when I was like 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
So as a kid that young, I wasn't even focused at all on like, and also I don't think King Ka was built in 2005, so at a certain point maybe it just wasn't there. I didn't realize, you know. But that ride is very intimidating, and just being that young is crazy. Sorry.
The first Strata I rode was Top Thrill Dragster, and I get what you're saying from looking at it. That was the one that, it was weird. I was afraid looking at it, but then once I was actually in the line to ride it, I don't know what happened. All the nervousness went away. Then it all came back when I was sitting in the seat actually getting ready to launch. It came back a lot stronger than it was when I was just standing there looking at the ride. Wow. So going back to that first ride on King Ka, Do you remember how you were feeling when you approached the station?
Yeah, I was very anxious. And even now, I can still get that type of anxiety kind of going in line for Kingda Ka, just because I can remember where I was, as a kid first riding it, and they still play the same music and stuff in the queue, and it still has that same atmosphere that I did back when I first rode it. So it really still has that feeling and atmosphere that brings back those anxious feelings, I guess. But I could get over that, because obviously I've been on it countless times now. So I just get those little butterflies in my stomach, like,
Yes.
I'm more excited, more exciting, of course, than being actually nervous.
I remember the ride. There were specific rides. I mean, I used to be afraid of everything, but then there were specific rides that really sent the anxiety over the top for me. The first one was when I rode my first 200-foot coaster, Diamondback, Kings Island. Then I think after that was when I rode Banshee for the first time, trying to work on the inversions and stuff. Vortex, too, back in the day when I rode that the first time. And Fury 325, Top Thrill Dragster. After I got past all of those, I don't really get nervous about coasters much anymore, but I remember all the feels. Sweaty palms, cotton mouth, like I felt like I could just drink water forever because I couldn't breathe right. And goodness, the tension in my throat and my stomach, before I went down the drop. We were talking about those. The only coaster now that really makes me nervous thinking about it, I haven't ridden it yet, is X2.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That's a pretty intense coaster. I got pretty nervous before I rode that too.
I was just talking with another guest last night, and he's ridden it. And that's one I don't know if the word excited is the word I would use. I'm going to do it, of course, once I finally get out to California. I'm not one that ever backs away from a coaster.
Oh yeah, no, do it. Yeah, definitely
but
do it.
I'm going to start out on
incredible.
towards the front on the inside. I'm
Yeah,
going to see how that goes.
That's a true thing. If you ride on the outer seat, it tends to shake more and it's a little bit more violent than you're sitting on the seat closest to the track. You sit in those seats, and then towards the front of the train is also a little bit less rough. You ride it toward the back. You ride it toward the back, and it's kind of like another ride in itself. You're kind of like bouncing around, like flipping. Yeah. It's really crazy in the back.
My guest last night, he rode his first ride on X2 in the back row on the outside, and it did not go well. But I mean, he liked it enough though to where he wanted to do it again. So I mean, he rode it again.
As a coaster, if you're a true coaster enthusiast, that really is one of a kind experience. You have to do it, and you have to do it more than once.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't able to do it more than once, actually. The second time I went to go ride it, the operations were so slow that it took us about 2 hours or so to get up the one side with the ramp going into the station. And it wasn't even like past the ramp part, like down into the lower section. It was just the top part of the ramp. And we were like, oh, no problem. This couldn't be more than a half hour. And we started waiting, and it actually went down right when we were about to get grouped in the station. So we didn't even get to ride it a second time. We only got one ride on X2.
Wow.
Yeah, the operations were really bad.
I'm one too, even if I ride a coaster the first time and I don't really like it, I'll ride it a few more times to see if I can figure out how to like it. I like to give coasters a chance to warm up. And, after a few rounds, if I'm still not feeling it, then I'm like, maybe another time. I'm done for now. The only one in recent memory that I can really think did that to me is the infamous controversial Sky Rush. I've not figured out. I've got another trick I'm going to try when I go back. I did 7 rides on that last trip.
Yeah.
And
you can give yourself.
It was just mutilating my thighs. I tried everything to keep the restraint up.
We call it the balls over the hump if you're a man. You can call it whatever you want. That'll be edited, I'm sure. But you just kind of sit, as far forward onto the little hump in the middle of the seat as you possibly can, to the point where the restraint actually just comes down like on your stomach.
Oh,
and
that's something I've heard.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the rest of your legs kind of just cut the restraint in the middle, and you have a seatbelt, so there's no risk of any problems there. But yeah, if you do it that way, you give yourself a ton of room, and then as you're going down the drop, you kind of push, like you see in my webcam, you push back against like that, and if you're lucky, the restraint won't come down too far, and you can actually get a good ride with a lot of room on it. I've had some incredible rides because with the forces that ride has, you can get a good restraint situation, because if you ride it normally, you just get stapled no matter what, and there's no way to really enjoy it.
I wasn't riding normal. I tried lots of different things. Nothing worked.
you gotta like really.
The other thing I'm going to try next time too is a friend of mine told me to put my foot, like use your foot on the platform to raise your leg up.
Yeah.
I'm going to try that too.
They might notice that and say something, but the method I always use, they never seem to care. They just send it out like me.
Okay.
And it's
I'll add that one to my list of mental notes as well.
Skyrush is a really good ride if you can get over those restraints.
Oh, I could tell that it had potential. I just couldn't figure it out. And
you'll get it next time.
It's another conversation too. Now, you wouldn't be one of those people, but a lot of the people I have talked to that have, more weight in their legs don't seem to have as much problem.
It's a thigh thing, because the restraints, if you sit naturally, they rest right on your thighs. That's why they call it thigh crush.
Yes.
If you could get it to rest somewhere on your stomach or somewhere lower down a little bit, even on your your hips, like somewhere down in there, you'll be better off. Your thighs is where it hurts so bad. It's just too tight. They really come down.
I'm going to give that a try next time too. Thank you. So going back to that first ride on King to Call, you were nervous, you were scared, had all the butterflies in the stomach going into the station. How did you feel when you got off that coaster?
I was over the moon. I was like so freaking excited. I couldn't believe that I had come over that beard and actually did it. And I wanted to do it again right away. I was like, let's go again. And I'm pretty sure we did. And we went maybe 2 or 3 times even. And I remember being really excited and just happy that we were able to do it. And I think after a few rides, it was just a bit much for my my little body to handle. So we got off. And I think we went and rode something smaller.
That's awesome. I can think back, to some of the major coasters I've ridden, and I've had different responses over the years. Like, Top Thrill Dragster, I got off that and I immediately wanted to go back and ride again. But Voyage, it's interesting. Voyage, which is like my number 2 coaster out of the 365 I've ridden so far, it took a few years for me to develop a love of that ride.
Oh, wow.
I used to be really out of shape, overweight. Yeah, I see that shirt. That's an awesome shirt. But I used to be really out of shape, overweight. And I think that may have had something to do with it. The ride just beat me up.
That beats everyone up a little bit,
I'd be able to ride a couple times and I was done. And last year, I never in my wildest dreams dreamt I would be able to do this and actually enjoy it. I did 35 trimless rides in an evening.
Oh my God.
On that thing. And I felt great. I mean, I just literally have gotten to the point now where I can ride it all day. But it's one of those things too. I've had to learn how to ride it, change things up a little bit, so the lap bar doesn't come down, staple my thighs and that sort of thing. And it's interesting. Some of my favorite coasters now weren't always.
No, man, I love
coasters that I like.
Voyage takes so much out of you. Even with the trims turned on. It's just such a long experience with so much airtime and it's so intense. And you come back into the break route and the whole train just gasps for air all at once. It's just like, oh my God, it's over.
I always rest. I go into hibernation a couple of days before Hollywood Nights each year. I literally become a vegetable
man.
to do nothing. And I plan on doing that when I get home. And then I can do it.
It's just such an experience. That's why so many coaster enthusiasts go so far out of their way to get to Hollywood Nights each year, and it's just so worth it, you know. And that's why when you can't get in, like myself, it hits hard. It sucks. And now I have to go and visit Holiday World on the night that's not with Trimless Rides.
I'm sorry. It'll still be an awesome ride. They did this year with the new Gravity Group track.
Yeah, I'm not even bothered that I'll have the trims on, because it's still such an amazing experience, like start to finish. That I'm not even that bummed.
Cool. All right. So after that very first ride on your scariest coaster ever, King to Call, would you say at that point in time that it had any type of an impact on your life, or did you see impacts of that ride surface later on?
I could definitely say that I could ride anything in the world after I got off of King to Ka, because it is the world's tallest roller coaster, and at the time it was the world's fastest too. So, you know, and I had that in my head, and I was like, oh, I can handle this. I can do anything. You know, I can go and ride all of the coasters at Great Adventure. So after I rode King to Ka, I went across the park, and it was around the 2007-ish time, 2006, 2007, I think. And I was over riding Batman the Ride, you know, because I was just so over the moon about my ride on King to Ka. I was like, oh, I could go ride everything. And I was riding Batman, and I got off, and I looked across the midway over at Batman and Robin the Chiller, and they were dismantling the track right as I was getting ready to go and ride it for my first time. So don't have that credit. But I was like, yeah, I was overly anxious to ride everything after I got off King to Ka. I was like, oh, I could do every ride here now.
Cool. And you know, for me, that effect of coasters has inadvertently surfaced in other areas of my life. That I can do anything mentality. Yeah. It's how I finally figured out the battle in my mind and won with losing weight and getting healthy. I mean, just lots of different things, becoming confident and assertive, which is definitely not the type of person I've always been. You know, learning how to tell people no when I need to be able to tell people no, because I need time to take care of myself, or, you know, there's other things that I have to do. I used to be a big people pleaser, and it didn't matter, you know, what it did to me, as long as I was keeping everybody else happy. And it's just been so rewarding across the board, you know, that I can do anything mentality, just like you said. It started with coasters, and then over the years, it's just kind of had a domino effect, and it's all been very positive and very rewarding all the way around.
That's great.
So I know we were talking about Hollywood Nights, and that's definitely one of those crazy experiences that if you've experienced it, you've experienced it. If you haven't, you need to. Looking back on all of your trips, amusement parks you've been to, enthusiast friends you hang around, coasters you've ridden, out of all of your experiences, if you had to choose one absolutely bizarre moment, what has been your craziest moment ever as an enthusiast?
I want to say probably going to Hollywood Nights. I think that was probably one of the most pivotal experiences that I've ever had as an enthusiast, is just going and experiencing all of those people there for one reason. and just everybody there just having such a blast, everybody just having such a good time, and such an atmosphere at that specific coaster enthusiast event. I think that a lot of other events just don't have that type of atmosphere, and I really just thought that was just life-changing for me. And then just riding Voyage too at night with those trims off. That's a life-changing experience in and of itself. You know, aside from all of your friends being there and having such a great time, and just everything about that event seems to be just so perfect if you can get a ticket.
Yes, that's the big if. You know, speaking of the if you can get a ticket, I've already talked with my son. Next year, he's going to be a senior in high school. And I looked at their graduation dates this year, and it all depends on, you know, the school calendar, whether or not you get snow days and that sort of thing. This year, there were a few days that wound up getting added to our calendar. And his high school graduation this year, now he's just a junior this year, falls right during Hollywood Nights.
Oh my God, what?
So we had a little conversation, and I said, and I told him, you know, I'm not one that's going to force my kid to do anything one way or the other. For me, I don't force my kids to live out my dreams. This is a big moment in his life, you know, so do what you want to do. I said, but if you've got to choose, I said, if you have to choose, you need to be thinking about, do you want to go to the event or do you want to go to graduation? So I
think I'd probably go to the event. I
told him, I said, you're not going to get judgment from me either way, but I don't want to buy tickets and then you turn around and go, oh, I'm going to graduation, because then I'm not going to be happy because I spent that money. And you know,
if he can't go, I'm around. I could be Jay. I could be Jay for a couple nights.
We'll connect and make it happen. And you know, talking about Hollywood Nights and that crazy atmosphere, I can honestly say that whole atmosphere, being around all of those people and the energy, has been one of the instrumental things in bringing me out of my shell. Looking back on that, I used to be painfully introverted around adults. I mean, I'm a school teacher. I could talk in front of kids, but adults are another story. I was made fun of and picked on, you know, a lot all the way through school. That stuck with me, you know, in ways that I didn't realize that it would. And I just struggled. Didn't feel like I fitted anywhere. Just always afraid I was going to say the wrong thing. And somebody the other day, it was hilarious, and I actually laughed out loud when they said it. They were questioning me about the, quote, unconventional way that I chose to spend Mother's Day at Kings Island. I ended my day with, I met a friend there from Pennsylvania, but his family had to leave a little early. So I'm like, okay, before I have to leave, I'm going to go catch a few more laps on my favorite coaster in the park, which is Orion. And I ended the day. It was epic. I was in my favorite seat on the coaster. I call it the magic seat, back row left, and I had the whole row to myself.
Oh.
This never happens. And somebody, you know, that's quite an unconventional way to spend Mother's Day, isn't it? Absolutely. I said, that's just the way us Thursdays roll. And I said, you know, basically, if you get it, you get it. If you don't get it, I really can't explain it to you. But
I could spend every day riding coasters. That'd be great.
That's the thing that's really awesome about Hollywood Nights, that whole environment taught me it's okay to be unconventional. You can be.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
your absolute happiest self, and it's all good.
Everybody there has their own set of problems, and everybody there, they all have their own coaster challenge. So that's like the whole reason the podcast exists.
Yeah, and I love it. So
all those unconventional enthusiasts at Hollywood Nights, yeah, they all have their own set of challenges.
And that's it. Once I became involved, you know, in a community like that, with more people that are just like me, happy being their own weird little selves, it opened a lot of doors for me, and I'm never closing them.
That's great.
So you've already told us your favorite coaster is the GOAT coaster, Iron Gwazi. You will get zero argument from me on that topic. But I'll stifle myself here for a minute because I could talk about that coaster literally morning to night.
Yeah.
What is it? Yeah. What is it specifically that you love about Iron Gwazi that puts it above all the other coasters for you?
Oh, that's so simple. It's just so intense. It's got that incredibly intense factor that no other coaster I've ever been on comes close to. It just seems to get better and better and better as the ride goes on. And my number 2, which is Velocicoaster, does the same thing. It gets better and better as the ride goes on. The first half, good and gets better. The second half is amazing. But then Iron Gwazi is just amazing the whole ride. You come off of that lift, you have the 90-degree, 200-foot first drop. Absolutely incredible. The whole entire ride just gets better and better. That wave turn over the station, the whole entire roof of the station there, right next to the wave turn, is littered with hats and sunglasses and phones and stuff because people don't expect that moment, because nobody's ever seen that before. No other coaster does that the way Iron Gwazi does. You're going left and then all of a sudden it just throws you 90 degrees, 100, the whole other direction. It's absolutely the best ride in the world.
Well, I'll share with you what just took it from God tier from last year's rides for me to complete out of this world euphoric after my last trip in March. I didn't get night rides last year because it got stormed out the night that the park was open up late enough for us to get night rides. So I had to wait a whole year to get night rides. And it was already my number 1, just from the daytime rides. And much like what you're talking about, the daytime rides, the relentlessness, the non-stop shifting of elements. There's no straight track. There's no mid-course. There's nothing.
Nope.
There's no repetitiveness of any kind. But when I rode it at night, holy Mary, Mother of God. The thing that really jumped out as an experience I've never had, even close on any coaster, the death roll.
Oh, yeah.
Going into the death roll, you can see that you're going into it. But then it is pitch black. You're going every which way.
Yeah.
And I've never in my entire life had a gray out that I cannot see. I had gray outs. I could not see the gray out, but it was happening.
You've been on I-305?
Yes. And I get gray outs on there, but I don't know. I've never had that experience. And it might have been, just a constant shifting of directions to where I really noticed it. But when I grayed out in the dark, I literally felt like my soul was drifting out of my body, like I was going to heaven. And then when you come out of that death row, whoosh, I come back to life, like every single time. And it was just, the word I used was euphoria.
Oh, yeah, the whole ride.
I don't know how else to describe it. And yes, I've been on I-305 at night. And I know I gray out every single time on I-305. But it just didn't hit that hard for me. Maybe because, it wasn't constantly changing direction and that sort of thing like Iron Gwazi does, but that just hit different.
But the last airtime hill on Iron Gwazi is way too small. And it's just like you just fly into it going like 50 miles an hour or something like that. Like you have to be going that fast, right? And you just
yeah.
It's like who does like why? Like it's amazing. Absolutely 20 out of 10. Unbelievable.
I said if it was possible to move up from number 1 to number 0, that's what happened.
I was so mad actually. I went down to Florida a couple of weeks ago, and I was going to take the Busch Gardens shuttle that they run from SeaWorld. You know, they run a free shuttle from SeaWorld over to Busch Gardens every morning at 9 a.m. And I'm in the parking lot, running across the parking lot. It's 8:58, and the bus goes and it like passes by the stop, and it like doesn't even come to a full stop, and then leaves at 8:59 without me. And I'm like,
no.
Whoopsie! Oh, so
you would have been chasing that bus and yelling.
I was chasing it. I was running so fast. I spilled coffee all over one of my buddies.
Oh no!
It was a bad moment in my career. I was in my most recent coaster career, just trying to go.
That's all right. You were doing it for the cause.
I was trying to ride Guathi.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I've done the same thing. So let's flip flop now. We've talked about the best coaster by far that we've both experienced. Now let's talk about the exact opposite. Out of all the coasters you've ridden, what was one that was so bad that you would say it's the absolute worst thing you've ever experienced and you'd never want to do it again?
Yeah, probably Zamperla Valairs. I've done one of, I mean, I'm gonna go and ride more of them naturally because they just happen to be permanent rides at some parks. But yeah, those things are really bad. It's just like being in a George Foreman grill. Like the whole back of the car comes down onto your back and then it puts you into the flying. It's a very, very, very strange and very uncomfortable ride because you just get kind of thrown around inside this like sandwich press. It's literally like a panini press, the ride. It's so bad.
What are some of the ones you've ridden?
I've actually only ever been on one. They have one, and actually, it's kind of funny. The park is owned and operated by Zamperla themselves. They run Coney Island in Brooklyn, New York, home of the famous Coney Island Cyclone, which is by far one of my favorite wooden coasters, by the way. Excellent ride. They take very good care of it. But the Volair is there for some reason, just to fill space, I guess, because it's a compact ride, and they're in Brooklyn, so they don't have a ton of room to work with. And they bought it from another park that didn't want it. And then, Zamperla bought back their own ride to put inside their park to showcase it, I guess, how bad it is. It's one of the worst. It's one of the worst experiences I've ever had on any ride, regardless of a roller coaster or whatever. But yeah, that's the worst roller coaster ever. And I don't even think that was my answer when we first tried to record this. I think my original answer was like Wildcat at Lake Compounce, which is another really bad ride that they're trying to fix. So yeah, give them credit for that, I guess.
Awesome. You know, thinking about these weird little coasters that there's not many of, I'm thinking of one, what you just shared brought back a distant memory that I tried to erase. Whatever happened. The toboggan coaster.
Oh.
Yeah.
I had a feeling you were going to say that. And I haven't been on one.
Coaster up there in Wisconsin.
Yeah, but over in Little America. Yeah.
Yes, Little America. That thing, and I mean, I tried to do what they said do to avoid this from happening. That bar at the top of the car, no matter what I did, it cracked me right in the forehead. It left.
You put your hand on it, like
I did it all. It left a goose egg. I literally saw stars and thought I was gonna pass out. That thing hit me so hard.
Oh, I can't wait. That's on my list for the summer. I'm gonna try to go up there.
You're pretty tall too, aren't you?
I'm 6'2". Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna have a real interesting time with that. I'm only 5'3".
Cram myself in there.
I'll tell you. Oh, I came out of there and they're like, "No."
I'm not leaving there without that credit, because that credit's really unique, because there used to be a bunch of those, you know, and then that's like one of the last remaining
Well, I'll
ones.
tell you what, there's a reason there's not any more right now. Good one.
Yeah.
I came off that coaster and they're like, my son was like, "How was it, Mom?" Don't talk to me.
But it's
Like,
so
"What's
cool.
wrong, Mom?" I said, "Leave me alone. I'll talk in a minute."
It's a traveling showman's dream of a roller coaster. It's tall, it looks cool, and it fits on one trailer.
There you go. I guess that's what makes it great. For me, 2 words: never again, and that's all.
Oh no. Great.
So, I know you mentioned earlier you love to travel. And that's one of the things as enthusiasts, once you get started doing it, you want to do more. It's become part of my mental health and wellness when I'm off during the summers from school, honestly. So when I go back in the fall, I'm mentally refreshed. I feel like, I'm ready to start a new school year. I mean, I'm going to be in my 25th year of teaching next year, and you got to keep your mind fresh, So it's like I said, don't teach like a dinosaur. If you're doing that, you need to go do something else. You got to be your best self so you can be what the kids need you to be. And traveling does do that for me. Out of all the parks you have visited so far, what are the favorite parks you've been to? And on the flip side, what are some parks that you have on your bucket list that you're looking forward to visiting in the future?
Oh, okay. My favorite park, it's not really even a roller coaster park. It has some really good roller coaster history in it, though. It's Disneyland out in California. That's like my favorite park overall as an experience. It's just an amazing package. They have so much to do in one small little space, and it's so well done. You walk in and everything is just meticulously placed and well thought of. If you've ever been to Magic Kingdom down in Florida, it's similar to that, with the building architecture and everything looks similar. But when you go to Disneyland in California, you really catch that magical essence that Walt originally created, and they haven't really changed that much. It's so similar to the way it was originally that you could walk in there and feel like you're visiting at the same period Walt was there back in the 1950s. It's really cool.
So it's just kind of like a walk back through time for you.
Oh yeah, and also it's just really well done. It takes inspiration from various European parks, and one of them was Tivoli Gardens. And so at night there's so many lights, and it's just such a magical experience. And I'm a coaster enthusiast first, but I'm a Disney enthusiast second.
I didn't know that about you. Interesting.
Oh, I love Disney. Yeah.
I will actually be experiencing Magic Kingdom, I guess, more in depth for the first time next year is when I'm planning on making that trip. I've been once before, but it was on a high school band trip when I was a freshman in high school. We were performing at Disney World. Everything was in such a rush.
Yeah.
I've got a few pictures in an album, but I don't really remember much. I don't remember what we did. I don't know what I wrote. I don't know what I did. So I'm going to go back next year and do it right. Actually be able to remember what I did. And I'm not going to put money into other parks and stuff. I think I should still have my Busch Seas pass, so I may make it back to those parks when I'm down there. But Disney's
when you're visiting,
focus of that trip.
When you're visiting a theme park that is mainly about the dark rides and the overall experience, not just coasters.
Yeah.
When you're at a park like that, when you're there at a park like that, you need to prioritize the experiences sometimes over some of the roller coasters and stuff. Because you go to Magic Kingdom, and there's lots of credit, not really lots, but there's like 5 or 6 different credits you can get there. Even a +1 on Space Mountain if you have Lightning Lane. But you can there's Seven Dwarfs Mine Train that's there, and it runs like 4 trains. It's got lower capacity than any of the other rides in the park, and it's a roller coaster. And so, as a coaster enthusiast, you want to go and ride it, but then it's got an 80-minute wait, and there's other better rides there to experience that don't have 80-minute waits, that aren't roller coasters. That, yeah, it's not a +1, but it's more of a better experience for you to go and do. And so that's kind of the way you have to approach those type of parks. Is you can't always put the coasters first. You have to
absolutely
prioritize the whole as an experience. So, go and check out a dark ride or something instead of waiting 80 minutes in a standby line for Seven Dwarfs.
Well, and that's why I'm going with, when I go, the executive. Well, when I go, the executive producer on the podcast, Andrew, he lives in Orlando. He has extensive experience with Disney. So I'm going to go when he can go with us and make sure we do it right.
Yeah, if you could get there at like 8:30 a.m. or with early entry, parks have always open. Parks that open at 9 a.m. So if you could get there right when they open, go and do Seven Dwarfs Mine Train first thing, and then go do Barnstormer right after that, because that's the kids coaster. And then the rest of the coasters, probably Space Mountain third. But the rest of the coasters there have higher capacity, so you won't have as big of a time getting onto them. But also, Lightning Lane is really a useful tool. But anyway, enough about Disney, because that's not why we're here.
Oh, yeah, we're good. I appreciate the conversation, though. Thank you. So next, I want to change topics a little bit. I want to talk about you as an enthusiast specifically.
Yeah.
We all have a story behind what made us an enthusiast. Some people were born into enthusiast families. Me, I didn't become an enthusiast until 2019, much later in life than a lot of people. For you, how did you become an enthusiast? And specifically, what coaster made you an enthusiast, if it was a coaster that did that for you?
Okay. Growing up, of course, going to Great Adventure, I live only about 20 minutes away, 15 if I speed. But growing up so close, I'd go there very often and ride all the coasters they had. After I'd ridden King Dakar and gotten used to, all of the different rides that they had there. Hang on, actually, I'm sorry. Could you start the question over again? My brain lost track of what I was talking about.
Oh, you're sure. That happens to me sometimes too. I'm like,
sorry.
All right, so I'll just redo the intro again to that.
Yeah.
So, as enthusiasts, we all have a story as to what made us an enthusiast, what brought us into the enthusiast community. For me, I'm 47 years old. I did not become an enthusiast until 4 years ago, much later in life than a lot of people. And it was actually Diamondback at Kings Island that made me an enthusiast. And I've got a whole story behind that. I'd like to hear your story. How did you become an enthusiast? And was it a roller coaster that made you an enthusiast? If so, what coaster was it?
Okay. Yeah, so growing up only about 20 minutes away from Great Adventure, I would go there a lot as a kid and ride all the coasters they had to offer. Of course, only after I rode the biggest one they had, rode all the coasters there. And I wasn't necessarily an enthusiast back then because I guess I just didn't get that rush that I did later on down the line. So fast forward a few years, I actually ended up working at Great Adventure in high school. My senior year in high school, right after I graduated, I had a summer job there as a ride operator, and I didn't operate any of the major roller coasters, but becoming a ride operator kind of opened that door for me to experience the amusement industry and sort of see what it was like. And by doing that, I met a few people that worked at the park, and we ended up hanging out, and we would ride El Toro a little bit here and there. And of course, at the time I was just graduating high school. So when school started back up for my friends back there, I wasn't going to school, and I didn't really like college much. So I spent a lot of time at Great Adventure that year. And then the next summer I would go and and we would ride El Toro a lot. And I didn't even really become a full-on enthusiast even then until a couple years after I graduated. I really didn't have anything to do. I didn't have a job. I was really bored, and the all-season dining pass was launched. So I would go there and basically go for food. But at the same time, I would go and ride El Toro because there was a burrito shop there right next to El Toro. So I would go and eat burritos, and then I would finish those up and go marathon El Toro. And then I did that for like 2 or 3 years. I would just go, and after work or after I was done doing whatever, and on my off days, I would just go to Great Adventure and I would eat off the dining pass, and I would go and ride El Toro. And that's what really, really made me become an enthusiast. Like, bar none, El Toro is the ride that kind of forced that into me, because I got to ride it on slow days. I got to ride it on fast days. As a wooden coaster, it runs in all types of different conditions and very, very temperamental. So I have a very strong admiration for that ride. It was my number one for a long time until I rode Steel Vengeance when that opened in 2018. And then, again, of course, with Velocicoaster and Iron Gwazi and Fury 325 and all these other fantastic rides that we have here. But yeah, El Toro is still up there. It's like my number 3.
Yeah, I think right now El Toro for me is sitting at number 7. It's my second favorite Woody, though. It's incredible. I'm glad I got to ride it last year before it shut down for an extended period of time.
Have you ridden it toward the front of the train at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
We had 11 rides on it that trip, so I tried to experience it.
How did you how did you think it felt up there?
I really like the front row.
Okay.
I like the front row, and my favorite rows were the front row, and I liked the next to back row on the left side.
Okay, next time when El Toro reopens, I want you to try row 3 in car 1. And that's for everybody. If you guys are watching this, this is sort of a magic seed, but the ride has to be running smooth because, it develops potholes and stuff. And
there were potholes. So
kind of rough, right? So
some seats I was like, no.
If you can, and the car's full and the track is smooth, ride in row 3, car 1. And the ejector airtime up there is incredible because of the way you get pushed up into the bigger airtime hills and the Rolling Thunder Hill at the end. The drop itself isn't anything crazy up there, but the 2 main airtime hills and the Rolling Thunder Hill hit twice as hard if you're sitting in the back row of the first car because of the way it gets pushed up into it. And also the gap in the wheel assembly is so much so that you get thrown up off of the track, and then it's like it's even more intense because of the way you got to try that.
I definitely will. And I'm excited to ride it once they finish the extensive work they're doing on it now. I really think this is going to be done and be done very well.
I really can't wait. It's been too long.
Absolutely. So you told me your coaster count earlier. What is your coaster count?
Yeah, it's sitting somewhere around 325 or so. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head. But it's right around there, 325 or so.
So out of those 325-ish coasters, what have your milestone coasters been? And what do you hope to make your next milestone coaster?
Okay. Shit. What? Oh, sorry. I don't even remember what my 300 was. Hold on a second now. Okay. Now I got it. I got it all now. So, for my first 100th, my 100th coaster, it was over at Kings Island actually, and I wanted it to be over at Cedar Point. I was trying to make Top Thrill Dragster my
Kings Island's my home park, so I'm curious. What was it?
Oh, it wasn't anything good actually. But we did ride Firehawk and we rode Vortex that day when we visited Kings Island the first time. But it wasn't any of those rides. It wasn't Diamondback or the Beast or anything good. My 100th coaster credit was Adventure Express.
I thought you were going to say Great Pumpkin Coaster.
No.
I'm joking.
I don't have that credit. Actually missing the Woodstock Express credit over there at Kings Island as well. And the Hang and Bang.
That was actually my first coaster when it was called the Beastie.
I don't have the Hang and Bang there either.
Okay. You got to come back. Let me know when you're coming.
Yeah, I got to go back. I needed to ride Beast again. I've only been on Beast a couple times.
Oh, and they did a ton of track work on it last year. It's running real well.
Yeah, last year when we went, it was closed. It was like right at the beginning of the season. I think it was before it reopened or whatever, or maybe it was the year before. I can't even remember. I'm losing track now.
All right. So 100 was Adventure Express. What was number 200?
Number 200 was Lightning Rod over at Dollywood. But it was only 2 years ago. So it was right after it got the almost full steel track makeover. So like most of pretty much the entire layout was steel, except for like the brake ground and the like lift or whatever. But yeah, It didn't seem to be as good as everybody always said it was. I was kind of bummed, like, oh, this ride kind of sucks now. Like,
I'm very underwhelmed. Yeah, I'm very underwhelmed by Lightning Rod. I mean,
it's cool. It's cool.
Fun.
It's fun.
There's quad down. Okay. There's no inversions. And towards the back, when I rode last year, there's potholes. I mean, it was like cracking my neck and stuff. So I'm hoping that's been addressed, because that's the only RMC I've really, the last time I rode it, I wanted to go more towards the front, and that generally never happens. I'm usually back row every time.
Yeah, me too, except on Outlaw Run. You can't ride Outlaw Run in the back.
No.
Because of the pothole, you get really like...
oh,
yeah.
Really
yeah, you can sit in the second to back row on Outlaw Run is good.
Second to back row is fine. I totally agree. I got that. I figured that one out real quick.
You have to be careful of those topper tracks. But that's 200. You want my 300?
Yes.
Okay. You want to intro it?
What?
I kind of cut you off. I accidentally cut you off. You were getting ready to like...
No, you're fine. No, you're fine. Go ahead.
All right. Yeah. So my 300 was... Wait, what was my 300? Now I can't remember it. Damn it. Oh, okay. My 300th coaster was actually down in Texas over at Fiesta, Texas. And this one's kind of a funny one, actually. You might know Casey Blockbreaks, the artist that we're both friends with, right?
She actually just finished our logo for our upcoming Trimming for Coasters series that my son and I are going to be doing for Coaster Challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, she's so talented. She does work for everyone, and it's just all over the community. You might not even realize that she did that work and then it was her. But yeah, we actually ended up bumping into each other. I was getting my 300th credit at the same time as she was getting her 400th credit on the same ride. And we didn't know each other was going to be there.
Oh, wow.
Really, yeah, we were both at Fiesta, Texas. And she had gotten on Iron Rattler about 5 minutes before me. And I was in the single rider line, and my friends who I was with, they're like, "Hey, did you see what was just on there?" And I'm like, "No, who was it?" And they're like, "Oh, it's Casey." And I'm like, "What? No, that's weird." And then we both got off and talked to each other, and it was my 300th credit, Iron Rattler, and then it ended up being her 400th. And like, what are the odds?
That is a very cool story. I loved Iron Rattler. It's by far the most unique coaster I think I've seen.
That's how much I loved it. It's very unique. Yeah, the way that it interacts with that quarry wall, it's so cool. And when it
drop.
Yeah, that drop is
not a drop you see on coasters.
That's incredible. It's like 170 feet or something like that. It's almost a hyper coaster.
Yeah, that was an awesome story you just shared about you and Casey. That's one of the things I love too about being an enthusiast is running into people at random times. You don't even know they're going to be there. Neither one of you are even, from that area of the country, and yet you find each other. I have
another quick funny story about her, real quick. It'll be quick. We were driving back from St. Louis one time. Me and her were hanging out at Six Flags, Six Flags St. Louis. And then we left at different times from different areas the next day and ended up bumping into each other on the Pennsylvania Turnpike at 2:00 in the morning the next day on the way home. Yeah, like it was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and no one else was on the road. And I ended up driving past her and I'm like, wait a second, that's her car. And then I called her up and then sure enough, like she was there driving, and we both left from different cities the next morning. And it was just very strange the way that ended up happening. And then there was another instance in Florida, but we don't need to get into all of that. There's been several instances of me and her crossing paths, whether it be intentional or somehow just, it's a small world, like Disney said.
Definitely. It's just meant to happen. Do you have any ideas what you want to make number 400?
Oh, I'm not really too close to it yet to know. I would like it to be in America, but I don't know if I'll get there. I might have to go into Europe or something soon. I don't know.
Okay. Well, time will certainly tell the story on that one. I've got number 400 coming up in June. And if things work out correctly, which I've got a lot of room for error, so I'm thinking the likelihood is very high that this will happen. We're going to up at Canada's Wonderland. I'm going to do Behemoth for number 400, and my son's going to do Leviathan.
Okay.
Because he's a few credits behind me, and he really wanted El Toro for number 300, and that was not one I was willing to give up. So we compromised. He took Jersey Devil for number 300, and I said, okay, I got El Toro for 300. I'll let you have the Giga for 400.
Yeah,
So,
that's funny. Yeah, there's no way for him to really catch up unless he goes to a park on his own, right?
Yeah, since I've got some credits. I have Son of Beast.
Funny.
I have
He's
Son of
close,
Beast.
though.
That he
He's
couldn't
really close.
ride. It's the only ones I have are the ones he couldn't ride. Son of Beast and King Cobra. And he might be able to catch up to me by one. Funny story here. Last time we went to Worlds of Fun, we're making a return visit this year, to ride the new coaster when we go back to Silver Dollar City as well. The last time we went to Worlds of Fun, there's a kiddie coaster. And you've got to have a kid to ride the kiddie coaster. So I was literally standing by the ride asking people if they would allow their child to ride with us. Well, I got some takers.
Oh, great.
I got to ride the kiddie coaster. My daughter got to ride the kiddie coaster. Jay had a kid. When Jay's turn came to ride the kiddie coaster, the ride broke down and shut down for the rest of the day. He didn't get to ride. So I'm going to have to see if I can fish him up a kid. If he still wants that.
Yeah, it's hard to do that I don't travel to parks with other people very often. And so I can't just stand there by myself as a 20-something-year-old guy.
Yeah.
Being like, hey, let me borrow your kid. I need to ride this coaster. That sounds
just
weird.
Walked up to people and just introduced
myself. If you're wearing
myself.
a coaster shirt, if you're wearing a shirt with a coaster on it, it makes it a little bit less awkward. But it's still kind of awkward. Just for me being who I am.
See that. Yeah.
I'm not a dad. I don't have kids myself. So I just it'd be kind of weird.
I thought I would look.
That's why I don't have the. That's why I don't have the. You have plenty of experience with that.
Yeah. My attitude is, the worst thing they can say is no. If they say no, it's all right. I'll just approach the next person. But I just introduce myself. Tell them, we're enthusiasts, and something enthusiasts do is we love to ride, coasters to add to our coaster count. But to ride this coaster, we have to have a child, that's at this height requirement. Would you possibly allow your child to ride with us just one time? That's just how I approached them. And
don't touch my kid, you creep.
And I couldn't believe they actually did it. I'm like, all right, this worked out great. So
I'm just not that. I don't care that much, I guess.
I don't leave credits on the table. If I can get it, I'll get it.
I'm not a whore. That's what it is.
I'm a credit junkie. That's
is that what they call them over in your? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, credit whores. I've heard all. All right, so let's talk about now, not just you as an enthusiast, but more about the community in general. What has been your experience as an enthusiast in the coaster community, and what impacts has being involved in the coaster community had on your life?
Tons of things. I mean, my whole life has been revolved mainly around roller coasters and theme parks for the last several years now. So being involved in such an interesting community with so many different types of people in it, it's really interesting. And from my perspective, I kind of see things um, differently because I create YouTube videos and stuff, and we'll get into that later. But the people that contact me through my YouTube videos are always really interesting too, because a lot of times those people might not even be part of the coaster community, or they're just trying to get into it and stuff, and they'll ask me how to get over their fear of coasters. They say, "Oh, I'm going." I actually got a very recent comment, like within the last week or so, from someone. They said they're coming to Great Adventure soon, and they want to know how they get over their fear of going on King Ka, like literally what we were just talking about before. It was that exact scenario, and I just explained to them, I'm like, hey, if you're going with someone, have them just talk with them in line. If they've been on it before, maybe they know like how they've been on it and how they felt and stuff, and you could talk to them about that, or they could put on the Coaster Challenge podcast and listen to other people's experiences while they're not waiting in line for King Ka specifically, because you're not allowed to have your phone in line for that. But for any of the other coasters you might potentially be scared of. But yeah, the whole community has kind of molded me as a person too recently. I feel a lot more open talking to people, and I could kind of just spring up a conversation in line with anyone now. And I do that often, when I'm at parks by myself. I'll find something to talk to the next person in line near me about, and I'll just say, hey, where are you guys from? And we'll talk. And oftentimes they're not enthusiasts, but it's still part of the community because we're waiting in line for a roller coaster together.
Awesome.
And oftentimes I'll get their Instagrams and stuff, and then yeah, you just meet so many different people going to different parks and going into lines, and most of them aren't enthusiasts at the parks, but some of them are, and those people that are enthusiasts are the ones that you stick closest to when you meet them, because you have things in common.
And that's how we met. I remember you just walked up to me and you liked my Iron Gwazi shirt. And we
no, it wasn't even your shirt. I think it was your tattoo.
Might have been my tattoo.
I think you had your tattoo on your arm by then. Yeah,
we just started talking, and now here we are.
Yeah,
and the world's gotten smaller yet again.
Right? Yeah. No, I always tell people, like, it's a small world. It really is. You run into people like you wouldn't believe out there. Mostly at parks, because you're going to parks at the same times as other people, and you end up at events together, and you don't realize you're both going, and it's like, oh my god, I didn't know you were coming to this event. And then it ends up being that much more fun that you haven't seen them in a while, and you get to hang out with each other and ride, rides and stuff.
So now I want to talk about the topic of travel. Thinking recently, what are some of the most recent coaster trips you've taken, or some of the more memorable ones? And what trips do you plan on taking next?
Okay. Well, I think I was telling you that I was going to go to Disney last time before. So I went to Disney and I really had a good time. That was my most recent trip, actually. And I got to ride Guardians of the Galaxy not Mission Breakout, Cosmic Rewind. I get the two names mixed up in my head because there's Guardians ride over Disney California Adventure. That's the old Tower of Terror ride, but it's called Mission Breakout. But then, yeah, I rode Cosmic Rewind, and that ride, it's something else. That's a really, really good roller coaster. And it's also an experience as a whole. So you have that really fine tuning that Disney does, where like you don't even feel like you're on a ride. It's just an experience. Like you're in there, you're flying through freaking space with all of the characters from the Guardians movies and stuff, and you're in a spaceship flying around. And like you don't even really feel like you're riding a roller coaster. You feel like you're gliding through space. Like it's very, very smooth. It's definitely the smoothest roller coaster I've ever been on. And you're spinning, and it's a controlled spin, so you're facing different set pieces while you're going through the layout, and it's just designed so well. It's the best indoor coaster I've ever been on. I like to compare it to like Space Mountain, but modern day with effects and stuff, like, because you ride Space Mountain and it's just kind of in the dark and you have the little star projector. So you see little like white dots that are supposed to be stars, and out of control feeling. But this is an in control feeling. Like you feel like you're being piloted through space. It's such a cool experience. And there's like 4 or 5 different songs that you get accompanied to with the experience. It's really something else. Like that. It's not like in my top 5 as a coaster. It's not like, you know, as an enthusiast, you look at it as a coaster, but yeah, it's something else. It's really, really incredible. And you don't need to wear 3D glasses for it, which is cool.
Okay. So what trips do you have planned next?
More Disney. I got to go down for Animal Kingdom, but also Surfline the Pipe Coaster. Going down for that.
Oh, Pipeline.
I know, I just messed it up on purpose. In my head this morning, for some reason, I was like, Surfline, the pipe coaster. Like, you know, that'd be kind of funny. Say that wrong, but yeah, it was stupid. But yeah, I'm really excited for that. I am over the moon excited to ride that, and I don't think I was before anyone else rode it. No, like nobody expected to have such rave reviews. Like I think the reviews so far for Pipeline have been overwhelmingly positive from everywhere. I haven't heard a bad thing about it from anyone.
And what's really good is I don't usually really put too much weight on reviews I get from media days and things like that, because I think sometimes people will be overly positive, you know, because they're trying to maintain a good relationship with the park. But I've heard really good stuff from people that don't have any media connections, you know, about Pipeline. It's the same thing. It's been very consistent. I've not heard one bad thing about it. So yeah, definitely when we go back to Florida next year, I'm going to go over there and check that out for sure.
I'm over the moon. I am over the moon excited for that thing. I can't wait to fly up out of my seat, standing airtime. That seems like one of the best sensations like ever on a roller coaster. Like just like you're already standing, and then just to fly up even higher.
I've heard your feet come up off the floor.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, your feet fly up off of the surfboard train, and you literally go flying through the air in your restraint. It looks so good.
Now, do you know when you're going?
Yeah. I'm gonna be going down in a couple of weeks.
Oh, fine. So that's coming up.
Maybe about 3 weeks, three or 4 weeks. I have to put my time off request in, but very soon. All
right. So, what do you have any bucket list trips that you don't have planned, but yet these are trips you know you want to take sometime in the future?
Oh yeah. Me and my friend Izzy, we've been planning a trip out to Europe for sometime later this year, but we're not sure if that's possible right now. We both have our own situations going on that may or may not make that possible, but we're planning to hit a ton of different parks out there in Europe. There's just so much to see and do. And the fun part about Europe, which a lot of people don't really realize, is once you're, in the countries and stuff, they're not like they are here. You don't need to show your passports and stuff when you're going between the countries as much. And the borders are sort of seamless out there. You know, the countries are more or less like states in a lot of places. You just sort of drive through them relatively easily. And I would love to drive out and maybe take a few flights to different parts of Europe and experience places like Europa Park. And I would have liked to experience Wonderland Eurasia and the abusive bad coasters that they populated that park with, but that obviously isn't in the cards anymore. That would have been an interesting trip. But I would like to travel to what's the one in Poland? Energylandia would be really cool.
Yep.
I would love to travel there, and then just so much to see and do in Europe that looks like a lot of fun. I can't wait, and I don't know when I'm going, but I can't wait.
That's actually my number one bucket list trip too, is Europe. My bucket list coasters are over there. Zadra
Oh yeah,
and Ride to Happiness for me are at the very tip top of the bucket list. And I also would like to experience Terran, because I love Velocicoaster. And
there's like 2 or 3 new ones that like just opened up. One in Paris, right? Parque Warner. No, that's in Spain. They got one. But there's a park in France that Totalis, is that what that one's called? At Park
sure.
Asterix. Park Asterix got there's these like Intamin Velocicoaster, newer generation Intamin launch coasters going into parks out there now, and they look really good. I would love to go and ride some of the stuff they have. Really good coasters in Europe.
That is going to be a trip that I think I finally get to take once my kids can pay their own way and I don't have to pay for 3 people. But one thing I have been told, like I said, once you're over there, everything really is relatively close together.
Mm-hmm.
And park admission over there is actually pretty cheap. It's not like paying to go into Disney or Universal here in the United States. It's not like that.
Oh, yeah.
It's just getting over there is the main thing. And the rest sounds relatively simple.
Yeah, if you could book your $1,000 to $2,000 flights, well in advance, and you could save up some more before you go, and you could buy your park tickets in advance and everything else in advance. Pretty much down to a T to what days you want to visit. Just plan as much as you possibly can, and it'll take you a long way, especially in places like Europe. Europe's so cool. I just can't wait.
So now I want to talk about something we haven't discussed at all yet during this interview, but it's a topic that I've had many really great conversations with people about in the enthusiast community. Merchandise. I know a lot of us as enthusiasts have vast collections of merchandise. I myself have a large wardrobe of coaster shirts. I've got a board full of pens. I'm probably going to need to get another board pretty soon. I've got magnets. Goodness, I've got stuff on my car. I've got coaster models, pictures, you name it, tattoos. I've probably got it. As a Thuzy, what types of merchandise do you collect for coasters?
I've got all types of stuff. I love collecting Coaster Dynamics models. I have a lot of those that I just haven't gotten around to assembling. I have like a whole bin just full of boxed up Coaster Dynamics models that I just don't have time to put together, because I also have a second YouTube channel that hasn't ever really been talked about, where I assemble those models. And then I kind of gave up on that, and along with that kind of went my Coaster Dynamics altogether, so I don't set them up at all anymore. But the ones that I do have set up, I keep inside a cabinet, and they're all pretty well kept, with the exception of a few that my mom decided to crush, and not on purpose, but she just didn't realize how fragile the models were. But other than that, I have a roller coaster seat in my room. It's a used seat from, it's from King Ka. I could show it to you guys if you want.
Whoa!
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Here, let me flip around the camera. Sorry, the room is kind of messy, but here we have
got Bucky in that seat. I've got a Bucky in my room.
Yeah, and the way that you can really prove that it's from King Ka is on the side of the seat. There's a number, and it's from the green train. There, you can see number 6. So you came from the 6th row of the green train. Yeah, and it doesn't have any restraint or any seatbelt or anything, and it weighs probably like 20 or 30 pounds, and it's here.
That is probably the single most epic coaster collectible I've ever seen, and I want it.
Oh yeah, it's really cool. I don't even ever sit in it or anything, but it's here. And then let me show you a couple other cool things that I have in the cabinet over here that I think are worth showing off. Let's see. I'll be quick here. Okay. Okay, so I have my most rare Coaster Dynamics model here. This is a nano coaster for the steel curtain over at Kennywood.
Nice.
It's a really strange layout, and it's a unique looking design. But the reason that I want to show it to you guys here is because you can't actually buy this one anymore. I don't believe they have it on the Coaster Dynamics website for sale. And the only time that they had it available actually was online on the Coaster Dynamics website. They had it available because at the shop next to Steel Curtain, where they initially had it for sale, one of the workers was assembling a display model and actually cut themselves on the display model while they were assembling it. So the executives there over at Kennywood decided not to sell the Coaster Dynamics models there anymore, and they pulled them off of the shelf at the park. So I was there a few days after the ride opened, asking about the models, and that's the story I was told. And so I contacted the guy from Coaster Dynamics. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but I contacted him via Instagram, and he was able to send me over one of the steel curtain models for me to assemble. So I was very thankful of that. And then one other thing here to show you guys is this little guy. This is Mr. Tato. And Mr. Tato was formerly the mascot of the only permanent amusement park in the whole country of Ireland. They recently just rebranded and called it Emerald Park now. But this is the old mascot of Tato Park, Mr. Tato, and he's also the mascot of the Tato Crisp Company, which is the most popular potato chip in Ireland and the UK. So that's kind of unique. And they also have the only permanent wooden coaster to ever exist in the country of Ireland. I have the credit, and I went to that park. It's one of my most prized possessions. It's not an overly special park, but the fact that they just recently rebranded the park, and it's no longer called Tato Park, and they no longer use this mascot. And I have a couple other things from there, but yeah, there's a really unique item because you can't buy this anymore, and the park itself is really unique because it's the only park in Ireland.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that.
No
Out
problem.
of all the interviews I've done, I have never seen or heard of Mr. Tato.
Oh my God! Yeah, look up Tato Park. Yeah.
And I'm going to, once we're finished. I absolutely love that. Oh, okay. Tayto, Tato
Right.
Park. For our listeners, if you would like to do some research as well and look that up.
Yeah, they have a gravity group wooden coaster there.
Wow, learn something new every day. That was my education for today. That was awesome.
Yeah, really a good ride. It's got a 110-degree overbank turn on a wooden coaster. It's kind of unique and really a showstopper when you're there.
Okay, so you mentioned earlier that you have a YouTube channel. I would really like to know more about that, because I know you said we previously talked and you said it's pretty successful. Tell us about your YouTube channel. The name of it, I think, is Officer O'Leary.
Yep.
What inspired you to start the channel? How many subs do you have right now? Let's start with that.
Well, right now I got 10,300 something subscribers going up.
Good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I started the channel actually way back in 2012-ish, like right after I graduated high school, because in high school I had taken a video production class, and I've been trolling around over on YouTube a lot, watching some of the content creators, and a few that come to mind that inspired me to start my channel was Adam the Woo, the vlogger, goes around to not just Disney, but he does other stuff in the Orlando area and out in California, and he's a very, very prominent vlogger from the early period of that type of YouTube genre, which only really started to become popular around 2012, 2013 or so. So the name Officer O Leary actually comes from, I started the channel. I was actually very influenced by gaming channels. I really liked watching people role play as police officers in Grand Theft Auto. There was like a mod where you could pull people over in the game and act like you were a police officer, and I thought it was really cool. And I followed this one YouTuber, Spears the Amazing HD. He's really popular now. He's got like 10 million subscribers or something. I don't know. But anyway, moving on, I started with those type of videos, doing the police role playing in Grand Theft Auto, and those were mildly successful. I got a few views because of my sense of humor, and didn't really do too much. But then, since I just graduated high school within the last year or so, and I was at Great Adventure a lot, just hanging out, using my dining pass and everything, I decided to start vlogging my experiences at Great Adventure and at other places as well. I would vlog pretty much anywhere. I was one of those people, like, before vlogging was popular, I was out there with my iPhone in public, just vlogging and mostly doing things that were interesting, you know, exploring different attractions locally and stuff. But the Great Adventure videos is really where I started to get my foothold into the YouTube community. And people really started to enjoy watching my videos that I posted from there. And I used to sneak these video camera recording glasses on the roller coasters at Great Adventure, and then people used to see my videos and take their phone out on the rides, and that became a huge issue there, actually, because people would watch my videos and see me filming on the rides and not realizing how I was doing it, so they'd pull their phone out. And so phones were a big thing there for a few years because of my videos, not directly because of it, but also because of the rise in prominence of smartphones and people just having the feeling that they could just pull it out and film whatever they feel like, whenever they feel like, regardless of whether it's dangerous or not. But that's another story. Anyway, yeah, so my channel started to grow slowly over time, doing videos mainly just a Great Adventure. And a couple of them became viral-ish. I have a couple of videos that have hundreds of thousands of views, just a lot of comments and stuff. And yeah, over time, I started vlogging at other parks. And I would go travel out to Six Flags New England and Six Flags America and Hershey Park and stuff, and start doing vlogs there, using the same recording glasses that I got in trouble with at Great Adventure. But you know, I would do those videos still at the regional parks, mainly because I didn't have any fear of getting in trouble with the type of glasses. You know, they're just sunglasses with a little built-in camera. Pretty much harmless, and sort of a gray area as far as like what you can and can't get away with, because yeah, they're just a pair of glasses, but you're also not supposed to be filming. In some parks, it's like, you know, it's a very tricky kind of situation, and a lot of parks just allowed me to use those glasses in a lot of cases. And so I have some really shaky camera glasses POVs from other parks, but I continue to film POVs at parks that don't allow them, using a different camera system that of course is safe, similar to what East Coasters does. But anyway, we don't want to break rules here. But yeah, my channel's just been slowly growing over time, traveling around to different parks and filming POVs and vlogs and stuff, and people really seem to enjoy what I post. So that's good. I'm going to continue doing it, and on a more consistent basis too. During the summer months, I put out videos more often than I would during the winter, because people don't seem to search for theme parks as often in the winter months.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, very thorough with the evolution of your channel, and congratulations on your success. And I'm confident it's going to continue to grow and become even more successful in the future. For our listeners that may be, you know, trying to build their own YouTube channel, would you please share any challenges you faced and any tips you might have for those that are getting started?
Yeah, of course. Starting a YouTube channel is never really an easy thing to do, and you kind of want to start it without having the thought that like your videos are going to become viral or that you're going to make it, because like, quite frankly, with just that attitude, you can't. You have to put a lot of thought and a lot of effort into your YouTube videos, but not in the type of way that you might think. Like, you can't be thinking about, oh, I have to make this video viral, or this video has got to be the best thing ever, because you're just not going to hit that mark. You just can't do that in most cases, unless like you're some like miracle worker who just is naturally good at it, which it doesn't happen very often. So with YouTube, you just sort of have to start somewhere that you like watching. Like, see, you like certain YouTubers and they influence you to make videos like them, and just start doing that. And by just doing similar things to what you like watching, you can also hopefully make things that other people like watching. But it's not that simple. And to actually be able to get successful on YouTube is very difficult. You just have to figure out something that people like to watch, and that's a lot of times what you like to watch. So try and take that as best you can. And then I use very simple editing software. I use iMovie. It's a downloadable app on your iPhone or Apple devices. Of course, if you have an Android device, you have to figure out something else. But the iMovie app is very simple and easy to work with, so I can put videos out on a pretty consistent basis if I need to, and I can work on my videos wherever I need to. And the iPhone is also a really good filming device. The camera on there is great. And I also have my external camera, like my POV camera here, and I can export the POVs right onto my phone and edit them all right there in one place. And it's very simple and very easy to deal with. So I can recommend that, and just try and be consistent and try to make things that people like to watch.
Great. Thank you so much for that helpful advice, because I know there are a lot of people that are trying to build those channels, and YouTube seems to be, it's like a very hit or a complete miss. And finding that magic formula that works for each individual person is critical to success. So thank you so much for sharing that for all of our aspiring YouTubers. Our next question, I want to talk a bit about the background of the question so it doesn't catch you off guard and you understand why I'm asking the question. We had a former guest of the podcast. His name was Dusty. He was a huge fan of the podcast. He was a friend of David's. He was also involved somewhat in the Coaster Kids organization a few years ago. This kid had a lot of impacts on a lot of people's lives. He passed away last year at the age of 16. When things like that happen that we don't expect, it really causes us, to take a step back, take a look in the mirror, and realize that time is very precious, and looking at the legacy, the impact that this kid left on so many lives, it made me really sit down, and have a talk in my mind with myself about how are you spending the time that you have here each day, and how can you spend the time better? And the big question is, when I leave this world, what's going to be my mark? Because this kid left a huge one. So with that being said, how would you, Sean O Leary, like your family, friends, colleagues, to remember your legacy? What's the mark you want to leave on the world?
Well, I just hope that most of, or if not all of the people that I have somehow interacted with in a way, touch them to the point, not in a creepy way, but to try to just not leave a mark on everyone, because that's not possible. I don't really care that much about doing anything like that. I don't know how to answer this one. This is a strange question. It's a good question, but
Put some
kind of
thought
hard
into
one.
it. Take your time. It's okay.
Yeah. Well, I just want people to take what they can from my experiences with them, both in person and in video form, and to just stay positive in life the best that you can, and everything will be okay if you're happy. Like, you just have to. You can't really dwell on the negative things, and you just have to stay positive. And then in that way, you can also help grow an audience on YouTube. If you're in a good mood and if you're positive, then that'll help all of those people that watch those videos over the years also have that positive impact. If you can translate that through the videos, and you can make people happy in real life, then I think that'll last longer than any other type of interaction. I think happiness is really the key to success in life. Now, you can go through life without graduating college, but as long as you're happy doing whatever job you're doing and making whatever money you're making, what's wrong with that?
Absolutely. And, I've said it so many times myself. Positivity is contagious. When you're positive, it passes to people around you. Likewise, when you're negative, that's a very toxic thing. That spreads to people around you as well. And life in general, I've discovered, is very heavily what you choose to make of it, your attitude, your positivity and or negativity. It can make a bad situation a whole lot better, or it can make a bad situation a whole lot worse. Likewise, a positive attitude can take a great situation and just make it go viral, whereas a negative attitude can take any situation, no matter how good, and cast a dark shadow out of it.
Yeah, everybody has bad days and stuff too, but there's other ways you can get over that, and you can go to, like, I'm lucky where I grew up near Six Flags, and I can just go if I'm having a rough day and they're open. I can just go there and ride a coaster, and all of that can go away, because riding coasters, like, just completely drains everything else out of your mind. You're not going to focus on anything else when you're riding a good roller coaster. You're just focusing on the ride. And then when I've had bad days before going to parks, and then I go to the parks and I get on the roller coasters, and all of a sudden my day's turned around. I'm having a good time, and all of that crap that happened, all that BS that happened before is gone, and you can immerse yourself in the moment. That's part of the reason I love going to parks so much. But that's my escape, is parks. But find your own escape. If it's not coasters or going to theme parks, it could be anything. Just whatever makes you happy.
Yes. And do it, and do it often, because
unless it's drugs.
No. And I'll tell you, what Sean said is so true. Everybody has a bad day. It's not, okay, I'm going to say that again. Everybody has a bad day, but every day shouldn't be a bad day. And
that's right.
If every day is a bad day, find what makes you happy. For me, yes, coasters, yes, I do that as much as I can. But, during the work week, during the school year, I can't ride near as much as I do during the summer. So my exercise, my music, I listen to daily. My exercise and my fitness too have really started giving me some of that adrenaline push that I get when I'm on the coasters. I find great stress relief through that. So that when I'm not on coasters has become a big part of my wellness. And now with our new series Trimming for Coasters that's getting ready to launch in the fall here with Coaster Challenge, I'm going to be able to take that and help other people with it. I mean, who would have ever thought that would be such a thing? And that's another thing that makes me happy. Helping other people. I don't get paid to do this. I do it because I want to. And when I see, that it's helping others, it motivates me to want to do more. So thank you so much for that wonderful advice, because happiness is the key to an awesome life, and you've got the power to make yourself happy.
And also with happiness, you can also find love no matter how ugly you are.
Ugly is
not saying you're ugly, Cam. I'm just saying that as a statement. If you think you're ugly, go and find something that makes you happy, and then once you're happy, you can find someone else who's happy.
Yeah, bingo. Ugly to me, beauty, ugly.
I'm single.
It's on the inside. It's all good. You're funny. Okay, so you've pretty much talked about with that last question, advice as well. Is there any other type of advice you would like to share with our audience other than staying positive and being happy? Or is that pretty much all you wanted to share on that topic?
Try and eat healthy the best you can, because that's hard to do sometimes in this day and age where there's fast food restaurants all over the place and none of it's good for you, but all of it tastes good. It's kind of hard to resist those urges sometimes. And especially in the South, there's a lot of restaurants in other areas, especially the South, that I don't have here where I live up in the Northeast. And I get it. I'm like, oh my God, or I need this. And I'm a fast food addict, which is a problem.
Well, and that really hits home with me on a number of levels, because I've shared many times online my fitness journey and stuff that I'm still doing. And I'll tell you, one thing I've discovered on a personal level that really gave me the kick in the butt I needed when there was still time to get the problem fixed was, the older you get, if you're not taking care of yourself, your body will literally start to fall apart. And that was happening to me. For nearly 2 years, I was hardly able to walk. Excruciating pain. I had ruptured tendons in 3 different parts of my feet. I had arthritis in my knees that had taken over my life due to the length of time that I was overweight as I was. It was crippling. And there were several amusement park rides I couldn't fit on. And I was guessing about 10 pounds away from even being able to fit the B&M clamshells at my biggest. And I have had a couple of people lately reach out to me, and I've had countless people reach out to me with, advice and help on getting fit, and healthy. But 2 people have really had a wake-up call lately. One of my previous guests here on the podcast, the night after I interviewed him, he wound up in the hospital, and he actually had stayed for several days. He had and he's only in his 20s. He had real sharp pains in his left side, and they discovered it was inflammation, and it was from eating too much greasy fast food.
Oh.
And
there's so much out there.
They basically told him, if you don't clean your nutrition up, this can literally shorten your life.
Oh yeah.
And and make your quality of life while you're here not real good. So he's really, and I tell people, and I've been there, I've done that. Took me over about 3 years to lose my weight. Nothing tastes as good as being fit and healthy feels. And I know sometimes when you're younger, you don't feel it. But when you get older and you start to feel it, which is what's happened to my other friend, it's like what have I done to myself? And how can I get out of this? I've got another friend now that is just literally, he's an old college friend, not even in the coaster community at all. He is at his all-time highest weight. He's had to have toes amputated. His quality of life, and he's my age. And I mean, his quality of life right now is very poor. And he's had it. He's tired of the quality of life that he's living and knows there has to be a better life out there. But it's taken getting to the point where his body is literally physically shutting down, to motivate him to really want to make this change. So I can't encourage people enough. Do it while your body will let you do it. Because the older you get, if you're not in the habit of moving and being healthy, it's harder to get started. It's not impossible.
Oh, yeah.
It took 47. It took me 3 years, but the weight does come off slower, and your body breaks down a lot faster. So take Sean's advice seriously, because it's definitely been life-changing for me. I'm just glad that I figured that out while I had the opportunity to figure it out. And
I'm still working on it. It's always been an ongoing project for, I think most people struggle with that as an issue.
Yes.
And especially built up urban areas or areas that just have a lot of fast food in general.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have a lot of other options, or for some cases there's just no other options available. Like, you're in an area that doesn't have a lot, and you're forced to buy things that are cheap at the supermarket because you also don't earn a lot. And then it becomes a chain reaction where your income can't support a healthy diet, and so you end up in this endless chain of eating tasty cakes for dinner, and like your body can only handle that type of stuff for so long, and that's really tough for people. That's really tough for people, especially in impoverished areas.
That does make perfect sense, and that's not something I really thought about, but it's entirely true. Somebody
I
asked
just made that word up in there.
No, you didn't. Impoverished, that's a word.
Impoverished is the word. Yeah, I just said poverish.
Oh, okay. It was very well, but it was very well said. Your point's great, because somebody actually asked me online a few weeks ago. They're like, "Why is healthy food so expensive?" And that's a problem. It's a big problem.
Definitely.
And I do think that's a reason that a lot of people are in the situation they're in, because they can't afford to eat right.
You can eat right, though, if you go to like Sheetz or Wawa. There's healthy options for reasonable prices in places like that, but a lot of places don't have Sheetz or Wawa or any of those like regional chain gas station things. There's no healthy options available. You got to buy what's at the supermarket.
All right. Well, thank you so much for bringing that topic to light. That wasn't a place that I saw our conversation going, but I'm glad that we talked about it. And you really opened my eyes as well, talking about the cost of healthy food. It's a very real concern that there's no easy answer to, especially, with inflation and stuff. Nothing's getting easier.
Nope.
So that's going to bring us to our last question. You have told us an immense amount about your awesome YouTube channel. Now I would like to talk about the topic of social media. How can our audience find you on social media if they would like to follow you, learn more about you, or make contact with you?
Okay, my Instagram is the same as my YouTube, just at Officer O'Leary with no spaces, just one word. And you can find me. I post a lot of reels on there. There's several POVs and stuff, but mostly roller coaster based content. I recently rode Tron Light Cycle Power Run over at Magic Kingdom. It's a really unique coaster, so I had to film that at night and make a little reel about it because it's just so cool looking with the lights and everything. Really, really cool ride. But other than Instagram, I don't really have any other social media presence. I don't have Twitter. You can actually follow me on Twitter with the same handle as my Instagram, but I don't post anything on there. And that's about it. Just YouTube, and Instagram. I post stories all the time though about my personal life on my Instagram page. So mostly just stories. Nothing in the reels, is just roller coasters there. But yeah, if you want to like see what I do on a daily basis there on my Instagram, I know you follow it, Cam. You could go watch my my stories about what I do here in my hometown when I'm not visiting parks, and even when I am visiting parks. If I'm at your local park, you can see where I'm at and meet up and hang out with me, because I'm always open to hanging out with my fans and people that like my videos. I really love meeting everybody involved. Even if you don't know who I am, if you see me wearing a Holiday World shirt and you like Holiday World, come up to me and say hi.
All right. Well, thank you so much for our conversation this evening. I've really enjoyed talking with you. I appreciate you being our guest on the podcast. It's been an honor.
Thank you so much for having me. I've had a blast, of course, as always, talking to you. It's very fun, and I love our conversations always seem so natural. So it doesn't even feel like I'm being interviewed, which is great. That brings a lot of stress off of my shoulders, because, you know, I can comfortably talk to you about things and not have to like worry. I'm sure I could do it with anyone else, but it's a lot easier with someone I already know, like yourself.
Well, the pleasure's been all mine. Thank you.
If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. If you want to see more of us, we upload every Friday. Be sure to like us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. All at Coaster Challenge. Links are in the description below. Thanks for joining us here today.